Hello and welcome everybody, live from the fax machine. It is 2019 Kent State signing day. We're actually at the Westin Stonebriar Hotel in Frisco, Texas, in advance of the Frisco Bowl on Friday. I'm Dan Griffin alongside Rob Polinsky. Is Shrum time. Stephen Shrum, our recruiting coordinator, helping kind of break down this class. So let's just start from the beginning. This is the product of probably 12 months in the making. So how does a class of ultimately 13 today even get started with thousands and thousands of people that are obviously on your board?
So for us, it's a huge deal that we have great area coaches, our position coaches, and then we have the offense and defensive recruiting coordinators as well that help go through a bunch of names and kind of whittle down the list to about 500 kids that fit our athletic profile. And then we also they do a great job of finding the information out on these kids from what their family lives are like or what adversities they've been through, and just kind of finding the right fits for us, and then putting a board together with all those answers and going from there.
And then obviously you guys are working on official visits, going out and live home visits, official visits here, home visits to their place, going to see them play. It's a constantly a lot of moving pieces and a work in progress that was literally up through today. And right before we were leaving, you guys were having official visits as well. So it never really stops, does it?
It never stops, and it's awesome to have a lot of great coaches that are willing to help. We're a small shop, as Coach would say, so it's great that everyone's willing to pitch in. It's not like an NFL draft board where you set your board and everyone's still on it. It's constantly evolving from all the pieces of information that you gather. So our coaches do a great job of staying on their toes and just going with it.
Steve, how much has it changed now that we have the early signing day? This one today, and then you'll still have one in February, where is up, until a couple years ago, there was just the one signing day in February. How has this changed the game?
It's huge for us. From our perspective, it's actually a benefit. So the bigger schools don't poach our guys. We did lose a few commitments, but that's to be expected when you're recruiting the right guys. For us to get these kids locked in December versus February, where the Power 5 schools are able to filter through more of the guys that you have committed, it's huge. So we locked up 12 announced guys today. We have 13 that signed, so there's one we're not announcing today. But from that perspective, it's huge. And then from there, 98% of the kids have signed already, so we're able to continue to filter through guys and dig and find the right guys that fit us.
And Steve, how much the success that the team had this year on the field, how does that help coach and all the coaches as they go into the living room of these kids and say, look, now you're going to come to a team that's 6-6 and is playing in a bowl game this Friday. Is that a game changer?
It's huge for us because, when we first got here, there was no evidence, and now there is evidence where our coaches are able to sell the product that's on the field, and belief with evidence versus belief without. So it's a major deal for us, to see the momentum change, going from 2-10 to 6-6, and just seeing how our recruits have responded to it. It's been a huge deal. There's definitely people that are paying more attention to what we're doing here, which, bring it on. I love the target on our backs and seeing what guys we get and guys attempt to poach us, from Power 5 schools, and they stick with us because they see what we're doing here.
Well, a lot of the names on this board are going to be very familiar to the Northeast Ohio high school crowd. So you guys got a number of local products as well. One name, right at the top of the list that kind of sticks out is Luke Floria. I know that he had gotten some Power 5 looks himself, but a lightning quick wide receiver. Kind of talk to us a little bit about some of the local guys that the local Kent community would be overly familiar with.
So the big name obviously is Luke Flory. He was committed to a Power 5 school, and Coach Kaufman did a great job sticking with him and continuing to build that relationship. And for him, the relationships were a big deal. Every time he came back, you could tell that he fit into what we were looking for as a player, and as a person. His family's awesome. So we didn't give up when he committed to the school that he decommitted from eventually. So Coach Kaufman did a great job with that. The whole staff did, and we're able to hang on to him. There was big Power 5 schools that were attempting to bring him on official visits the last couple of weeks, and he said no. He was sticking with us, so that was a big deal for us. Jasper Robinson, obviously from Canaan McKinley, home of Nick Faulkner. Nick Faulkner told us about him, and he's only been playing football for 2 years. you know, so there's a lot of growth potential for him, and he is extremely athletic, so we're very excited about him. Savion Washington, 6'9", 350. I mean, and he's got light feet, and we saw him in camp, at our camp. We saw him at a few other camps. He's got so much potential. It's very exciting to see where he ends up. And then obviously Luke Murphy from Massillon, Washington. He ran a 4.5 verified. You can see it on his tape. You know, it's very exciting to have him on board as well.
Well, congratulations on a class, and we'll let you get back to work for February.
Yes,
We know it never stops.
It never ends.
So we'll be bringing in a couple of the defensive and offensive recruiting coordinators, of course, Coach Lewis himself as well. But Rob, I mean, you've covered the high school football in Northeast Ohio. A bunch of these names have got to jump off the page for you.
Well, they do, and the high schools jump off the page too, because when you get a kid from Menor, I mean, that's a team that notoriously year in, year out is competing for a state championship with Coach Triv. You've got, Canton McKinley, Massillon, Washington. Everybody knows those schools. St. Vincent, St. Mary. You've got some of the best programs in Northeast Ohio, winning programs. And I think when you bring kids in from winning programs, that can only help.
Absolutely. We'll bring in Coach Caniglio. You kind of were the recruiting coordinator for the defensive side of the ball. And, I mean, let's just talk about how this class came together and where you see these guys kind of fitting into this scheme that you and Coach Kaufman and everybody are looking to build over the next few years.
Absolutely. I think, the number one thing that we thought about when we looked at this, these defensive guys that came in is really process over results, making sure that we're bringing in the right guys that love football, who are going to be willing to compete on a daily basis, show up and invest really in the process and invest in themselves. So we brought in 4 guys that we're announcing on defense, 3 defensive linemen who we feel really, really good about, 2 of them that we saw at camp, and another older junior college player who's going to be able to join us in January, along with Rainings Awa, who's also going to be able to join us in January. So we get immediate help from them. They have the opportunity to, show up, go through a spring ball, and then be prepared for the season. And then the defensive athlete and Luke Murphy, we're really excited about him as well. Shrum alluded to kind of his speed and his tools coming in as a safety and being a really dynamic playmaker for us.
Now, how huge is it that you're going to be able to get some guys in right after the first of the year so they can go through the spring ball and really kind of in real time get themselves up to speed, so once they go through the mini camp in the summer, they're ready to go come fall?
I mean, it's everything. I mean, you get those guys in, they have the opportunity to learn the defense, adjust to the scheme, get coached up. It's really like a 6-month head start. So those guys have the ability to really grow. They also have the ability to be, great student athletes, understand what it's like to go to school at Kent State, and understand what it's like to be a student athlete, kind of juggle those different priorities and those different responsibilities that you have, and then into the summer. And then obviously you're going to have an opportunity to, probably more of an opportunity to be able to play when you show up, for fall camp.
Coach, you mentioned 3 defensive linemen. Was that out of need, out of necessity? Did you feel that was a group that we needed to get more kids involved?
It was a priority, but at the same time, we want to take the right kids, or the right student athletes. I mean, the critical piece for us is making sure that we go through the process. We understand who we're bringing in. We learn a lot about these guys. So 3, it was a priority for us, but at the same time, we want to make sure we brought the right guys in. And we really feel like we brought the right guys in with some different skill sets who are going to come in here, and guys that we know love football, guys we know a lot about, that we're excited to get in here.
When you have the early signing period like this, and Shrum talked about it, does that take a little pressure off you now going into February that you've got this group, or how do you sort of look at it now going forward to sort of get the rest of the class in February?
Yeah, I think it takes a little bit of pressure off us, but at the same time, we still have some numbers to fill on defense that we're extremely excited about. And at the same time, though, I mean, we feel extremely confident about where we are on defense right now. We have some really good targets, and we're excited about the February class as well.
Well, Coach, congratulations. We'll let you get back to not only filling out that class, but preparing for Utah State on Friday.
Absolutely.
So
Appreciate
congratulations on the great class. A lot of hard work paying off.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And Rob, we mentioned the defensive line here. You see the graduation of a Dom Hill and a Theo Majet, so there's going to be an immediate need, at least trying to fill in some of those guys either with depth that you have this year, and then you're just replenishing the depth with this class. But certainly, like he had mentioned, an area of need, and it's certainly like mission accomplished.
In the area need, and also in Division I football, it might be the position group where you need the most kids. You'd love to be able to rotate, 8, 9 kids in the defensive line if you can, because it just makes it such more of an effective group collectively if you can do that.
Well, absolutely. Plus, with the speed and the spread that is now the kind of the go-to offense in college football, trying to get those fresh bodies in to rush the passer never hurts.
Exactly.
Bring in Coach Middleton now. He is the offensive recruiting coordinator. And Coach, first and foremost, congratulations. This is quite the collection of talent here.
Thank you. Our staff has worked tremendously hard to put this together to this point, and we still got a little bit left to do. So.
Well, the one guy that we haven't talked about is a 5-star in name alone, and that is Thor Cracked. And as an offensive lineman, he's 6'3", 270. You get him in the weight room a little bit. You probably like to see him, unless he's a pull guard type of guy. But a name like Thor Cracked, he's got to be a road grader.
Yes, he is a phenomenal athlete himself. He can play anywhere, interior, and then maybe get on the outside and play some exterior offensive line as well. And state champion, great family, great home life, great mentality. So. Looking forward to him coming in and helping.
Absolutely. And you got a veteran group now on the offensive line, but you guys have been able to rotate in some depth here this year, and he only adds to the equation. So you've got to like where the line is now, where it's going to be.
Most definitely. And that's always a focus. We know it starts up front on both sides of the ball, and our staff just does a phenomenal job of working together, evaluating, learning about them, and then Coach O'Boyle putting his helping hand on them and helping mold those guys to get them to where we need them to be.
Well, Schrummman mentioned some of the local guys, so let's kind of expand our horizons, if you will, a little bit. We talked about Tyler Dixon, 6'3", wide receiver out of St. Louis, Missouri. What can you tell us about him?
A good athlete, a really good athlete, good feet, good hands, big target, physical, and will play, any position that you need him to play, in special teams, just a good receiver with a big frame, big target, smooth, good football IQ.
Coach, it seems like since you and Coach Lewis and everybody came on board, it was you wanted to get taller at wide receiver position, and it seems like I look at this class, it looks like you're continuing to do that.
Yes, we know as the field shrinks and you get into those red zone situations, you can't throw the ball as far down the field, and you have to, guys have to be up and go and get it. So we do look for that length, athleticism, that size to where, we aren't smaller down, as we're pushing the ball down the field.
Moving right down the line, another 6'3", 195-pound wide receiver out of the Springfield, Dayton area, and Robbie Glass, Shawnee High School. I watched some of the. Everybody looks good on their huddle highlight tape, but this guy really knows how to go up and get it.
Yes, and Robbie, Robbie played a lot of quarterback, but he does have those clips to where he shows that speed. He's a state champion high jumper, 10.9 in the 100. He has some long speed and really good length. So we're excited about him and developing him into, a fast receiver.
And then we mentioned the size. This is going to be the exact opposite in Marquez Cooper. But he calls himself the human joystick, and judging by his tape, it's true to form. Like, my goodness, the way he was able to find the holes that you didn't know there, all of a sudden he just pops out on the other side, he's gone.
Most definitely, and at that position, it's about, good feet, good contact balance, finding those openings, and then being able to make plays and finish runs, and he does that time after time after time again. So we're excited to get him, here mid-year, to get him here in the spring and have an immediate impact on the team. So
Now, Rob, this guy, 2 consecutive 2,000-yard rushing seasons.
Wow.
Helps with a state run deep into the state tournament. I mean, I don't care what your size is. If you're putting up 2K on the ground year after year after year, you're something special.
Most definitely. Production. Yes, most definitely.
And then rounding out the class, Marshall, another big offensive lineman, road grader, this time out of Morgantown High School, Morgantown, West Virginia.
Yes, another, exterior body, which we need, and he is a phenomenal young man and a phenomenal football player. We're extremely excited about him. Coach Barton did a great job with sticking with him and, getting him on campus on repeat. And, Coach O'Boyle and Coach Schrum and Coach Lewis have just, working to get him here. And we're very, very excited to have him.
Now, one last question here for you is we mentioned the early signing period. Now it's a kind of almost another sprint to February. Where does that leave you guys with a little bit of work left to be done? Obviously, no more high school football, so is it a lot of personal visits, a lot of home visits? How does that shake out between basically Christmas and Valentine's Day?
It's a combination of those things. You know, we have a board, but now you go back through of who's still available, the guys that you've had a great relationship with, some of those that might have fallen through the cracks because of coaching changes and things like that. And we just do a great job of working together, evaluating, combing back through your area to make sure no stone is unturned, and then finishing off the recruiting class so, you know, we can get them in here and get them developed.
Well, Coach, congratulations. We'll let you celebrate this one, exhale, and get ready for Utah State on Friday.
Thank you very much. Flash fast, baby.
I mean, Rob, we talked a little bit about the defense. Like, we look at the offense, I think it's pretty cut and dry what they were trying to do. Road graders and then big wide receivers.
Yeah, and, you know, we saw Coach Middleton's sons over there at the practice facility on Tuesday. I think pretty soon, you know, I don't know how many years down the road, but we might have some flash fast receivers there with Coach
Yeah, well,
Middleton's sons.
absolutely. I think we've got, based on how your son was trying to lay people out at practice over these last few days, I think we've got a linebacker in the Lewis future here.
Yeah, I mean he likes to strike some things, you know, and he's got some early offers. We got to reach out to some people, see if those are still valid and committable at this point in time. But Roy's having a great time down here at the Bull site.
Well, Coach, it's got to be an exciting week for you. Obviously, the Bowl coming up on Friday, but this class being able to come together with you guys being able to celebrate it while celebrating a great season has got to be almost like a perfect storm for you.
Yeah, it's really great. You know, it's kind of a culmination of the growth that we've had here, you know, in our 2 years here. I mean, tomorrow will be the 2-year anniversary of our initial, you know, kind of introduction speech and everything. So to be here at a Bowl site and to do something that, you know, hasn't been done in a long time on the field and then off the field, continue our success with the type of kids and the right fits and the right families and bringing in, you know, new family members to our Flash Fast family here to grow and to get what we need, you know, and what we want. It's been pretty cool to go out and be pretty selective in this class and to be sitting here with 12 new signees to announce today. It's a lot of fun.
How do you decide, you know, how many you need on offense, how many you need on defense? I'm sure all your coaches they want all the guys, and how do you go through that? And then also, not just offense, defense, but by position, you know, how many offensive linemen do we need opposed to linebackers, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, we have some master numbers and kind of a blueprint that we follow, but the big thing that we look for is just who are the best football players, and before that, who are the best people that we can get in here, right? When there's a lot of parallels to dating and to recruiting, you know, and that, you know, when you're dating someone, you're dating the whole family, so you got to make sure it's a good fit family-wise, what that family covets, what that family values, what those family values are, where the young person's been raised, that they align with what our family values are. So before we even get into the numbers or anything like that, we kind of make sure that those values align. And then as we jump into it, you know, you kind of get to a point to where, you know, the old line prospects that we had this year, it was a very deep board. We had some really, really good prospects. So, you know, we went heavy there. The D-line board is kind of the same thing, you know. And so we're going to find the best football players. And with our strength staff and with our coaching staff and the tremendous work that they do, you know, we pride ourselves on developing kids, and we'll see how these kids continue to grow and develop and mature. But we're looking for football players, and we're looking for great people. You know, the cool thing that obviously there's all the height and measurables, and a lot of people are going to be looking at their huddle tape today, which is great. But this class, this signing class today has a cum GPA of a 3.0, you know, so they're students as well, you know, and they're going to get great degrees from Kent State, which is important to all these families. And again, that model proved to be successful here in a very short period of time.
Is it a coincidence that the local kids you got, the Ohio kids you got, come from great football programs?
No, not at all. It's a good observation, right? One of the things that we put a premium on, you know, is recruiting local. 2/3 of the class come from a 4-hour drive time radius. You know, so a lot of these kids have been on our campus numerous times, and we've been on many dates with them, so we know them very, very well. And then we also put a huge premium on winners. You know, I think winning begets more winning, as we all learned down the stretch here, to where we get that Buffalo win, and that momentum and that juice carries over to Ball State, and it rolls into Eastern Michigan, and now here we are. So we want to bring winners into the program. I think all but one of our signees, you know, went deep into their state playoff runs. We have quite a few kids that I believe 5 or 6 that either competed for a state championship in their state championship games or won a state championship. You know, so because of that, they're going to come in and things that, you know, are often frowned upon in society of, you know, putting, your individual needs aside and what's best for the team and making sacrifices and being disciplined, which I think are great traits to have. These kids have already been instilled by their tremendous high school programs and where they're coming from.
Sticking with the offensive side, we kind of noticed a pattern with, like you said, we've said the road graders on the offensive line, and then the size at the wideout
Sure.
wideout position. So just did you kind of put an emphasis on that aspect when you were kind of looking for your ideal fit when it comes to those positions?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously play in a top-tier conference and a top-tier non-conference. So length and size, is always at a premium. We're always going to value that and hold that in high regard. Sir Isaac Newton taught us that force equals mass times acceleration, right? So if you got big bodies that can run really fast and that generates force, and you can establish a new line of scrimmage and be able to run the ball, and then conversely on the defensive line, you can stop the run, which are pillars of our program and pillars to our plan to win. So size will always be at a premium, so that we can go and when you get in those one-on-one matchups, which every position group is going to find themselves in, we have a physical advantage.
And like Coach Middleton said, when that field shrinks, that huge target never hurts.
Yeah, the big targets never hurt, and the big people never, hurt. You want guys that have size, that have length, that have speed. Those traits that, again, we will grow, we will develop, we will coach. But there's certain things that we can't coach. The good Lord touches certain kids and makes them bigger than others, and we want the big ones.
And preparing for this bowl, official visits, signing day, how, in a few words, how chaotic have the last 3 weeks been for you guys?
It's been flash fast. That's our lifestyle, so it's easy for us. We're able to roll with it. All that being said, I know that I'm going to get some good power naps in when Rory's down for naps over the holidays. I'll probably get a few in too. But, this is it's a great profession, and it's a whole lot of fun to get to know these families. And, the 2 weeks that I have to go out, during these winter contact periods, you got to maximize them. You got to be out on the road. The staff has done a tremendous job year-round, and the assistant coaches don't get enough credit. They do a tremendous job from going out and identifying these kids during the spring evaluation period where they're out on the road, getting them to campus for unofficial visits, getting them to our camp so that we can do live evaluations, going out and seeing them in the fall, and then I get to get freed from behind my desk to go out in the winter contact period, and I get to kind of go, help them close the deal. But, the staff does a tremendous job, and the recruiting coordinators and the way that they've, orchestrated everything, couldn't do this without them. So, big thanks to them, and all their hard work is really a testament of what today is.
Now, what work? I know there's still always recruiting never stops.
No question.
What's the game plan? How do you guys see you right now and when we're talking again in February?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we got the signees that we had in today, and we got to go back and we got to reassess the boards on where other kids that we had targeted may have signed today or maybe had not. So you just kind of got to take a deep breath. We got the dead period here. We have the holidays and everything to kind of recalibrate, but we got some great targets that we've already set for official visits in January, and now we need to shower them with love and get them to be all in with Flash Fast and want to be the alpha day in and day out.
How key is it that you get a lot of these guys to come in starting this next semester in January, so you get a full spring with them, a little bit more, and then a full summer with them before you actually start, so they really have a half a year on some of these guys?
Yeah, I think it's something that's become more and more commonplace in today's college football landscape. It allows the kids an opportunity, first and foremost, to kind of get assimilated to things in waves, right? They can get on campus, and instead of getting just everything all at once and feel like they're drinking through a fire hose, they get to do winter conditioning and learn how to train in the weight room, and then they transition to spring ball and they learn what practice is like, and they're not getting it every single day. So I think just for the transition from high school to college, again, with great students, they've positioned themselves to be able to do that, and it'll just be great to help bolster the competition, kind of how we were talking about yesterday with our running backs, right? I mean, we want to have the most competitive program in the country. Inside our walls, inside our buildings, we're going to compete the right way, and by bringing in more talent, we're going to have that day in and day out. And by getting these kids here in January, that's only going to heighten the competition and form our family bond a little bit stronger by having them here.
I think as well, it allows them just to acclimate to college, because when they come in, it's still a semester. When you come in during the middle of summer, summer in college is great, but it's not
It's not-
actual college.
Yeah, you're not taking a full course load, right? I mean, so yeah, most importantly, hey, find where your classrooms are at. Find how this whole college living thing happens in the spring. You can kind of make some adjustments in the summertime. So that way when you roll into your first fall, it's not all hitting you all at once.
Absolutely.
How much did it help, having the success you've had this year, when you go out to talk to these kids, as opposed to 2 years ago, like you said, when you were just flying by the seat of your pants, you didn't have money, you were selling what you were gonna have happen,
Sure.
but now you can sell what has happened and you could be part of the future. How much did that help? Because I'm sure most of the kids you're going up against or with are also getting recruited by other MAC schools.
Yeah, I mean, every single one of these kids, we beat not only some Group of 5 schools, but some Power 5 schools on, which again is a testament to our staff and their willingness to go and mix it up in any sort of recruiting battles. Obviously, I think the number one thing that you can sell, aside from our great university and the degree that we're going to get, that's a given at Kent State. But in between the white lines, the best recruiting tool that you have is the success that you're having on the field. So to be able to go out during this recruiting cycle and to have real evidence to point to and say, hey, we're a bowl team, and that we're playing postseason football. And 2 years ago in our first 2 classes, that was just a vision. We're asking people to have faith, and now we actually have, hey, this is real, this is happening. Here's the concrete evidence, and you want to be a part of it? Let's get it on.
Coach, congratulations. This has got to be a exciting day for you. It's part of an exciting week, so I'll let you guys go and enjoy it as a staff.
Appreciate it. Great time to be a part of the Flash Fest family. Go Flashes.
So, Rob, as we kind of wrap things up here, I think it was you see pretty evidently just on position and size what they were trying to accomplish here in this class, and rating wise, you're right in the top 5 within the conference. You're focused in on 12, 13, probably a class that's going to grow north of 20 when it's all said and done. Guys that obviously rate well, but also fit your system. So the grades to me are always irrelevant, because you're going to find guys that are going to fit your system better than guys that maybe been ranked higher who wouldn't have thrived in what you're trying to do.
Sure, and and I think part of that, when you bring in these kids from quality football programs, that really helps too. And like Coach said, you want to get to know them as people first, to make sure that they're going to fit with the guys that they've got. Because obviously, Coach Lewis and the staff, they have a plan, they've adhered to it, and if you don't buy in, you're not going to be part of it. And I think what this does is it takes some pressure off now for February. Now they can kind of fine tune. They know they've got this group. Now going into February, they can do, they can fine tune and get a few more of the guys that they're really counting on, and maybe look at positions specific, maybe a little bit more, and for some need,
Right.
and see what they can do there. But you're right, they wanted some big linemen. They've added that. They added it last year. They're adding it this year. They wanted to get taller, more athletic wide receivers. They've done that. You've seen what the kind of year an Isaiah McCoy has had, and we haven't had a receiver as tall and as can do what he can do in a long time. So those tall wide receivers can be game changers.
Absolutely, and I think what this early signing period does for a school like a Kent State is it helps to filter. All right, well, we had 500 guys on our signing board. We've got the dozen that we have here, but we now know that of those 500, 60 of them are still left. Let's go with, like you said, figure out what our areas of need are. Where is a guy that kind of fell through the cracks, so to speak? Let's go get him.
Yeah, and then maybe they can also, all these kids know each other. In today's world, they can go out for the guys that they're going to try to bring in February and say, look, you're going to join Savion Washington and Jasper Robinson, Luke Flory, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that can do nothing but help.
Absolutely. It is an exciting time with an exciting week here for Kent State football. Obviously, it all kind of builds to 6:30 Central Time, 7:30 Eastern, and the kickoff for the Frisco Bowl. And this signing class here is a culmination of all that hard work.
Yeah, exactly. And kudos to the coaches and the entire staff to be able to do that, to do your bowl prep, to work as hard and grind as hard as they've done. And hats off to those guys.
Well, they went through 6 gallons of coffee here this morning, so that's no surprise that they've probably been doing that a lot also in the football offices back in Kent.
How much of that was Schrum?
Oh, probably 2/3.
Okay.
Easy. But that's going to do it for us here. We're live at the live at the fax machine, so to speak. We're at the Westin Stonebriar Hotel here in Frisco, wrapping up our Kent State signing day coverage as we get ready to get for the Frisco Bowl on Friday night on ESPN2.